The Supreme Court of Appeal has ordered Cash Paymaster Services to repay R316 million to Social Security Agency SASSA. The court found that the grant's distributor had been opportunistic and that there'd been no lawful basis for the payment made in 2014. CPS had appealed a High Court judgment ordering them to repay the R316 million with interest. We're joined now on the line by reporter Aphumelele Mdlalane. Aphumelele, let's first start with a bit of a recap of that particular payment in 2014. What was it for?
Okay, so it's quite interesting in the judgment, as we understand that initially the case was brought by the Corruption Watch to, of course, the North Gauteng High Court, whereby it ruled in its favor that the CPS, which is the one that was awarded the contract by the SASSA to be able to take responsibility in terms of payment of beneficiaries and also registration of beneficiaries and recipients. The court ordered that in High Court, of course, when I'm taking this matter back, that CPS, there were irregularities in awarding, of course, the contract, and also no services were rendered. Therefore, its argument was that it has to pay the 316 million rand with interest, of course. That's where we saw earlier this month that the CPS, which is Cash Paymaster Services, they took the matter to the Supreme Court of Appeal, and today the judgment was the same as the judgment that was from the High Court, whereby it said that yes, there were irregularities, and also cited that the CPS was very opportunistic on the contract between it and SASSA. Therefore, it was ordered to pay the 316 million rand with the cost, and also including the cost of the two councils that were representing the case.
In what respect was CPS found to have been opportunistic?
If you can just repeat your question.
In what respect was CPS opportunistic?
The judges were just in argument that CPS was very opportunistic to the contract that was, of course, amended in a way that it argued in court that it wasn't aware of any of the beneficiaries. There was no way that it was going to be aware of other additional beneficiaries. The only beneficiaries it was aware of was the beneficiaries that were included, of course, in the contract that binded them, but it wouldn't be aware of the additional beneficiaries. In this regard, we're talking about children. Let's say a parent has one or two children, but it said in that state it wouldn't know the beneficiaries, how many are the sub under the beneficiaries.
Okay, so you did mention that costs have been awarded against CPS. Has anybody been found personally liable for all of these actions? As in, is anybody going to be held to account?
As far as we understand the judgment, it just says that the CPS, of course, has to pay back the money to SASSA. So we tried many times to talk to CPS just to give them a right of reply for this matter. Unfortunately, we couldn't get them on time. Whereby we're gonna be able to ask that who exactly on the CPS has to or is responsible to pay this amount. As far as we are concerned, it's just that they have to pay the cost of the legal representative and also to pay the 360 million rand with interest.
Thank you very much, Aphumelele Mdlalane, our reporter. We get